So you don't have any furniture, but what you do have is Blender. Let's get into it. Find the image you want to use and then bring it into free software FSpy. Then use the handles on screen to line up your X and Y axes so you can get a nice match going. You can try holding down the Shift key for more accuracy. Once you're done with that, you can add in a grid and check if everything aligns. Make sure your windows, doors, and walls all line up. With that step completed, all you gotta do is save it, and we can open up in Blender using the FSpy add-on. Once you're in Blender with the add-on installed, head over to import.fspy and open up your file. This sets up a camera and background image for your scene. With all the boring stuff out of the way, all you have to do now is recreate the room geometry. What I've done here is I've imported a plane and lined up the edges with the edges of the room along the X and Y axis. With the floor lined up, extrude up the edges and make sure that everything aligns. You can inset, extrude, and add edge loops to cover all the features. The most important part here is that your geometry is accurate. You want everything to line up perfectly, or this won't work very well. Once you've finished up with the geometry, create a material and head into the shader editor. Create an image texture node and just plug in your image. Make sure you're using UV coordinates for this. Now to project the image onto the geometry, you have to create a UV project modifier. Also make sure to add in a subdivision surface modifier set to a high number, because we need a lot of geometry for this to work. The last step is to put the aspect ratio of your image into the UV project modifier. And the easiest way to do this is to just put in the X and Y resolution of your image into the X and Y scale of the modifier. Since we're only using the room for bounce lighting, we gotta make it a shadow catcher. So head into visibility and turn on shadow catcher. With all that done, you should have a 3D reconstruction of your room, which is great for getting that bounce lighting and reflection onto your model. Now for the fun part, just add in your light where your real life light source would be, and then we can start putting in our models and setting up our scene. You can do anything here. Pretty much anything you put in will look realistic due to the shadow catcher and the environment that we set up. Depending on the scale of your scene, you might have to turn up your light pretty high. So just make those final tweaks and just tune it in to what you think looks good. Here, I'm using some assets that I got online. You could easily model your own and populate your scene. Once you're happy with how everything looks, just hit the render button and wait for the results. Once your render is finished, you can either save this image and composite it into something like Photoshop just for some final touches, but what I'm going to show you here is how to do it right in Blender for free. With the compositing tab open, hit Use Nodes and add in a viewer node so we can see what we're doing. You can click V and hold Alt to move around the viewer. To finish things off, you can add in a mix node and an image texture node to load up your image and just plug everything together. To get the transparency of your image to work, make sure to plug in the alpha into the factor node of the mix node. If your image doesn't look right, just switch the inputs and everything should be in order. And just like that, you've virtually staged an empty room. And all it cost you was a little bit of time. Thanks for watching.